Hello everyone, welcome to the series of CC questions, and today we'll discuss about more question in that part. So the first question is says, what do integrity services provide by hash functions and digital signatures allow a recipient to verify? So when we talk about this integrity, this is what integrity is, a pillar of information security. So integrity is, it verify that your data, your information has not been altered by some unauthorized person, right? And how we can achieve this? We can achieve it with the help of hash functions and digital signatures. So here they are talking about in the options. The first option says the encryption key used for a message. Then we say the second option, which says that a message has not been altered by malice or error. And we have third option, which says the operation methods of an encryption system. And we have last option, which says the plain text of message. So as we already talk about the integrity, what it makes sure? It makes sure that your message has not been altered. So here the correct answer is option B. Next question says, why is asymmetric encryption considered more secure? So when we talk about asymmetric, right, here what happened? Here we are using two keys. We are using public key and private key to do the encryption and decryption. We are using two keys, that's why it is more secure, right? While on the other hand, symmetric encryption is there we are using only one key. Okay, only one key is used for decryption as well as encryption. So here among this option, it says option D. It involves a unique code for a sender and receiver. So correct answer is option D, right? So next question says, you are concerned that user traveling with laptops will have those devices stolen while in transit. Which encryption technology would best protect the data stored on those laptops? So when we talk about technology, okay, see here you can see that these are what? These are protocols. HTTPS, HTTP, VPN is what? VPN is virtual private VPN is what? VPN is what? VPN is virtual private network, right? Here these two are protocols, so we are not talking about protocols here. VPN is used for encrypting your data, right? And also it hides your IP, right? So for that we have VPN. We are talking about which technology best suit for storing the data. And what it does, it encrypt the entire storage disk of the laptop, and that's why it can protect the integrity of your data. Okay, so we have next question, which says you are concerned that user traveling with laptop will have those devices stolen while in transit. Which encryption technology would best protect the data stored on these laptops? So when we talk about this option A and B, these are what? These are the encryption. When we talk about this option A and B, these are what? These are protocols. So here we are not talking about protocols. VPN is what? VPN is virtual private network, and it makes sure that whenever you are sending any data, right, it is encrypted and your IP is hidden. Now we have this option, that is FDE, and this is what? This is full disk encryption, and this technology makes sure that it encrypts the entire storage disk of the laptop, and it ensures that your data is secure and inaccessible from unauthorized access. So here the correct answer is option D, FDE. Now let's move to next question. So we have next question, which says, what type of crypto system is Bob using whereby data being encrypted by the sender using the recipient public key and the data then being decrypted using recipient private key? So here what we are talking about? We are talking about, again, we are talking about two keys, public key and private key. And here that means when we are talking about two keys, we are talking about asymmetric encryption, right? So we have two options, option B and option D, where asymmetric encryption is mentioned. It is not a symmetric encryption because here we are using two keys. So obviously this A and C are cut. We have B and D. Now we have this name, public key encryption. So this public key encryption is another name of asymmetric encryption. So here option B is the correct answer, that is public key encryption or asymmetric encryption. Now let's move to next question. So we have next question, which says, what is the purpose of security awareness training, right? So here the option says to store password in plain text for easy retrieval, to align information security goals with the organization mission and vision, to ensure that their people can be held accountable when mistakes occur, to enforce strict policies. So when we are talking about this security awareness training, option B is the correct answer. Why? Because they are talking about the information security goals. Security awareness training, what it does, it educate employee about security best practices, right? Why? Because they want to ensure their security goals, information security goals, support and align with the organization. So that's why option B is the correct answer. Now let's move to next question. The next question says, what is the primary purpose of storing password or hash values or digest? So what is the primary purpose of storing it? So one thing you should know, that passwords are always stored in hash form, right? They are never stored in plain text. So here in the option, they're talking about the primary purpose of storing password as hash value or digest, right? So option A is there, which says to check if a password matches without revealing the password itself. Option B says to create a more secure password management system. Option C is there, which says to generate random sequence of letters and number. And option D is there to store password in plain text for easy retrieval. So among these options, option B is the correct answer, because we want to create a more secure password and system management, right? So correct answer is option B here. Now let's move to next question. We have next question, which says, what is the role of security engineers in data security? So here we have 4 options. Security engineer unfamiliar with security codes. Obviously this is not the correct answer. All right, we can cut it. Security engineer only deal with user-friendly security systems. No, obviously this is not the correct answer, so we can directly cut it. Security engineer figure out who is trying to log in and access security codes. Yes, we can consider this one. And the option 4th is there, which says security engineer are responsible for introducing data into the network. So among these options, what is the role of security engineers? So option C is the correct answer, because here security engineer, they play a very important role in ensuring the data security, right? They monitor and manage the access of systems and networks. So that's why option C is the correct answer here. Now let's move to next question. We have next question, which says, what is meant by the term rollback? Rollback is what? Rollback is a process, right, of undoing the recent changes. Whatever recent changes you have made in a system application, you can undo it, right? Means you can change the things or update that cause unexpected issues. So you go back to your previous state. That is rollback. So here option says restoring the system to its previous state before a change. Certifying a new software release with vendor third-party testing, implemented changes in a live environment, introducing new configuration to the environment. So here direct answer is there, that is option A, restoring the system to its previous state before a change. Now let's move to next question, and it says, which key is used to create digital signature? So when we are talking about digital signature, how it's created, right? So let's see, there is hello, and you make a hash of it, this hello, right, by using algorithms. So for hashing, we have algorithm like SHA-256 is there, MD5 is there, SHA-512 is there, and many algorithms are there. So hash is made. Now you will encrypt this hash using the private key of sender. So you encrypt this with the private key of sender, and now this hash is converted into a digital signature, right? So here the question says, which key is used to create digital signatures? So the correct answer here is sender's private key. Option C is the correct answer, right? Now let's move to next question. So we have next question, which says, what is the most effective practice by which we maintain system integrity throughout the organization in dynamic environment? So here the correct answer we have is change management. Change management is most effective practice we have to maintain the system integrity and organization dynamic environment, because it ensures that if there is any change made to the IT environment, right, that are planned and reviewed and approved, right, and it is implemented in a controlled manner. So here correct answer is option A, that is change management. Now let's move to next question, and it is talking about which of the following is considered to be more secure hashing algorithm. So when you see the option C and D is cut because these are the algorithm for encryption, right? AES, RSA, these are encryption algorithm. We are left with MD5 and SHA. So among these two, SHA is the one which is more secure, right? SHA is secure hash algorithm and it is more secure compared to MD5. So the correct answer is option B here. Now let's move to next question. So next question says a large university has reported a sharp rise in malware infections affecting student-owned devices connected to the campus network. The university suspect unauthorized file sharing activities may be the source of these infections. Which policy would best address these issues by defining acceptable and unacceptable uses of the campus network, including limitation on file sharing activities? So here among these options we have information security policies. So these information security policies talk about high level document that outline the principles, rules and practices the organization should follow to protect their asset, right? And when we talk about this disaster recovery plan, so disaster recovery plan is what? It is a detailed step-by-step plan we have, which we have to execute when any disaster happen. Like disaster could be anything. It could be a natural disaster. It could be a cyber attack, anything, right? Then we have this acceptable user policy. So acceptable user policy is what? This is like a, you can say policy that define how the devices, right? How the user or employee uses the devices or network email in their organization, right? When they can access the devices and all. So that is acceptable use policy. And then we have data handling policy. So data handling policy talk about how you process the data, collect the data, right? Share the data and all of these things. So here we are talking about which best policy address this issue, right? So we are talking about devices here, right? We are talking about how we can do the limitation on file sharing. So here this acceptable use policy is the correct answer, right? So option C is the correct answer here. Now let's talk about next question, which says your organization has discovered a vulnerability that allow attacker to exploit pre-computed hash tables, rainbow tables, to crack hashed passwords. Which method would best mitigate this issue by ensuring that identical password result in unique hash value, right? So when we are talking about this rainbow table is what? Here hash value and its plain text is given, right? So when we talk about hashing cannot be reversed back. You cannot reverse it. Once you made it, because it is a one-way process, you cannot reverse it back. It can only be mapped, right? And how you can map it? You can map it using this rainbow table, because here you have the data of hash and you have data of plain text. You have the data of hashes and the plain value of it, right? So when we talk about the best practices, we can mitigate this issue because there is an attack called rainbow table attack. So we want to mitigate it. So for that, what we can do, we have a process which calls salting, right? That means we add a salt in your hash. So let's say there is a password you made. So before storing that password, right, what happened? We add salt in it. Salt means any random string we add. So let's say we add this before the password, and now the hash of this password is made and it is stored. So this is what? This is salting to prevent these kind of attacks. So that's why this is the best method we can use to mitigate this rainbow table. So add salt to password before hash is the mitigation for this. So the correct answer is option B here. Now let's move to next question. We have next question which talk about which statement accurately describe the proper sequence of ISC square phases in the data cycle process. So we have a data cycle process, and among these process, option D is the correct answer. That means we create the data, we store it, we use it, we share it, we archive it, and then we destroy it. So option D is the correct answer here. Now let's move to next question. So next question says, which principle focuses on integrating people, technology, and operational capability into an information security strategy to create layered and adaptive defenses across multiple areas of the organization? So here we are talking about what? We are talking about layer, right? Layer are making. So here when we talk about layers, this is what? This is defense in depth. So we make one layer, right? We make 2 layer, 3 layer to protect the data. So even if one layer is breached, there we have other layers as well to protect this particular data. So here the correct answer is defense in depth. Now let's move to next question. Next question says, which cryptography algorithm relies on the same secret key for both performing the operation and, if applicable, reversing it? So we are talking about one key and both the keys doing encryption and decryption. So here the correct answer is symmetric encryption. Now let's move to next question, which says, how does hashing handle minor changes in the input like letter case, variation, or misspelling? So when we talk about hash, okay, we make a hash. Let's say we make a hash of hello, and a hash random hash will be created, a fixed length hash will be created. Then let's say there is a single change happen, just single dot is added in the hello, and this dot will completely alter the hash. Okay, completely different hash will be maintained. That's why we use hashing for integrity, because even a slight change in your data will completely change your hash. So here when we see the options, so option D is there, which says it generate a unique hash digest for every input, right? So among these options, option D is the correct answer, because even a single change in your hash will completely alter the hash value. And this is what? This is avalanche effect, right? So that's all for the questions. Thank you so much.